Welcome back to Unlimited Saga, where we're going to continue the road to Bottom Part 2, Southern Succotash. But as you can see, we got a new party member. Very nice. Now, yes, okay. Now, Judy is, we're gonna build her up like she's intended to, magic user. Usually they, when it's a new party member, they say something when they enter the battle for the first time, but she did not there. Now, familiars, oh, no. Now, familiars, you can use their spells and not have to worry about, durability.
Well done. Didn't even put up a fight.
Now, you can learn magic permanently through magic tablets and other such things like that. Judy does come with one. Actually, I think she comes with a couple of them. Let me see. Yeah, you saw there she has a magic. Actually, we'll see it here. Yeah, be sure. Yeah, she's only got one. Okay, she's got one magic tablet. Be sure you have this equipped. You'll know when it's equipped when it's yellow highlighted. And whenever you use magic, you build up your EXP for a spell. Now, it's not like you have to use that one particular spell because you don't know it. You can't use it. But you keep using magic, and you'll learn that spell eventually. You'll learn that particular spell, and then you'll be able to use that spell whenever you get the proper familiar and whatnot. And be able to use it at your own pace. Now, Judy is also unique because, I mean, she is one of the main characters you can play as. Or you can pick from. Everybody has the same familiars. No matter what. If you put a character with a familiar, they have the familiars. Except Judy. Judy's familiars are unique to her. They still share the same elements, but it's just a little detail that they added. Slimes are pretty hard to pierce, so they can take a beating. But I think they all they don't have that much LP. Now, slimes are a little hard to determine in this game because it seems like they're different ones. They all look the same, but they're different because you see how they transform to other enemies. They'll transform into more powerful enemies. But I think in the long run, I cut most of them out, so I do apologize if I skip over a slime that we technically never seen before because they do different attacks. Yep, this is it right here, like the Detect Vengeance Plates. A lot of these spells you really won't ever use, truth be honest. Like all that Detect would let you detect enemies on a map. If that particular enemy falls under a particular family of type of enemies. That was a weird sentence. But most of the time, you really don't need them. Like, you'll want attack magic, and then I think there's only one spell in the game where you can actually heal HP. Which that will be handy. And I think that if I recall correctly now, that falls under the water element? Now, with magic builds, like Judy here, each person if they're good at magic, they will also fall under an element, which they will excel at. If I recall, I think Judy has a couple ways you can build her up. Like, I don't have the tables open at the moment for it. Got some money. Remember, in story missions, you don't have to worry about turns. Take as much time as you want. Wait around until your HP's healed up. It will help you in the long run. And we evaded that trap. Hooray. Hey. Now, sometimes what's actually really beneficial to you, which is something I'm not doing here, shame on me, I want to say wait around each area for about 3 turns, because sometimes there is a treasure chest there, but they don't spawn on the moment you enter that room. So it doesn't hurt. Like, I can understand it'll get tedious to do that every single time, but you know, just every so often, wait around a couple of turns in each room, and maybe a treasure chest will pop up, and that will give you a chance of something good, or even a magic, or even a trap with a slime, or a mimic, excuse me, which leads to a magic tablet, which is really beneficial. Really beneficial. Beneficial, really. Like I said, I like to do with a strategy of using magic first, so that way all the enemies' turns are used up, so that way I have a guaranteed combo at the end of them. Or guaranteed combo with my characters without interruption. Yeah, it's risky, and I might take some LP for it, but hey, I'm willing to risk it. Especially when I can do stuff like this and do 4 LP off that, like right there, for example. That's a beast, I tell you what. Or, excuse me, that's beasts. But we already encountered him, so don't need to worry about that. That's actually what I was looking at. Here's diplomacy at work, where you can try to convince the enemy to leave you alone, which is kind of funny. Slimes are the most passive enemies. Like, you have to wait in that same room with them for, I think, 9 turns before they even think about attacking you. But of course, if you try to open a chest, if the enemy's in that room, they'll block it. So, even if it's a slime, it'll still block you from getting the treasure. So you have to fight all the enemies in the room before you can open the chest up. And also, here's the boss of this chapter. And he's got hornets with him. Of course, they're only known as insects here first, because we haven't really got enough data off of them, I guess one could say. But once you either fight them a couple of times, or I guess when you detect them too, I guess that's another benefit. Yeah, that's something else you can do in battle too. You can detect them, and I guess that opens up the names for them, so you know what their name is. Which is actually useful for whenever I'm making a list of enemy formations to skip. Because I'm silly. I make lists. It helps me out, okay? Now, the downside of doing the strategy I like to do is, since it's a lot of enemies, they could do a lot of damage to you, and possibly quite a bit of LP if you're not careful, see, like that. And even then, like, this guy's slow enough to where his turn interrupted mine. Now, for parry stuff, weapons with parry, you want to always stick that in your second slot. Because if it's in if I recall, if it's in your first slot, the parry won't work. You gotta put it in your second weapon slot for be able to either parry, deflect, and whatnot. Which is actually kind of funny. Swords actually make better shields than shields in this game, funny enough. Because you have a higher chance of just flat out parrying attacks rather than blocking with shields. So that way you just take less damage. Like, you don't even take a damage at all if you parry. And swords have a higher percentage of doing that than shield. Like, the best sword in the game, or it might be all swords, but I just know, it's quite a bit of a difference. Like, I think it's a whole 10% difference, if I recall correctly, of parrying with a sword than blocking with a shield. Heard that little tone. He's like, what? Remember now, if your main character dies, it's game over, not, even if you do have other party members, that's it. So you gotta be careful. As you see, we got Laura with an axe now, trying to build up her axe mastery. Her axe arts, whatever it was called. Because we're gonna try to go for the strong build for Laura here. Which means the best weapon, the best attacking weapon in the game is axe. Axes. Daggers are pretty good at parrying as well, or deflecting, whatever it's called. But it's nowhere near as good as swords. But still, if you have a dagger that has it and don't have a sword at hand, still put it on. You know, it's still. It's still better to have a chance of parrying than not having one at all. You're a prince? That's great. Do you really think so? Of course, I mean, you can't just decide to be a prince on your own.
I had wanted to become a prince. If I had not been royalty, then both my father and mother would have been spared.
That's deep, Henry. That's deep. And immediately falls into a trap. Of course. Sometimes the game will do that to you. Like, there's nothing you can do other than try to, deflect the trap. But sometimes, after a battle, and you're got 0 HP, and if you all fall in the trap, that's an LP taken off of you right there. So, that's just RNG in a nutshell. At least we evaded that falling rock, though. That's good. Alright, and that concludes that part. That quest part. See, we got axe arts with her. That's pretty cool. We got a skill item for him, and we got some familiarities with her. Alright. Allows you to detect monsters by listening. Ooh. Road guides helps you find treasure, depending on the type of map you're on. Like, road maps helps you with fields, I do believe. Alright, so we're gonna put this axe on her strength icon, which is the sword, I believe it was. You see, whenever I'm doing this, I'm specifically looking at images to help me out with the setup here. Okay, that's what we need to do. Definitely going to put the locksmith on Henry. I could go ahead and guarantee that right now. Right smack in the middle, okay. And we're probably going to use, I think it was a familiar for Judy. It's kind of weird that she has, like, sometimes it's random too, like, we never use an axe at all for Judy, and yet here's an axe right here. I think fire was her best element, if I recall correctly. Okay, we're going with the romance, or her, I didn't catch the name of it. And you can also see how much HP they increased too. Ooh, better merchandise for sale. And we're also in a new town. With that steel frame bunny right there in the foreground. It's so dangerous. At least one of them. We will at some point. At some point we will. There's actually a side quest there. Now, we're not going to do the side quest just yet. We're going to continue with the main story until we got enough party members built up. I don't think you ever have to worry about side quests disappearing, if I recall. But yeah, this is Unlimited Saga. Join us for the next part. So stay tuned for the Unlimited Saga.